Welcome guys. Today we are going to write a code. We are building on what we actually did in the previous code, which was an introduction to Arduino application development for Arduino environment. And then today we are going to actually write a code that is going to help us interface the LCD to the Arduino microcontroller, and there are a couple of ways in which you can do this. It depends with which protocol you are using. You can use a UART protocol, which is a universal asynchron kind of connection. Then you can also use I squared, or IC2 if you want. It's also another method you can use, or you can use SPI. But I'm going to use a very basic method in which you have 4 pins, data pins, and you've got an RS pin and an EN pin. So when you're interfacing an an LCD to the controller, you need to select your register to which you're writing your data to or reading from, and then you need also to enable so that you're able to write or read from the LCD, and also you need to actually select the data pins that you're using. So the RS or register select, it's a command or a pin that enables you to be able to select the register with which you are using to actually access the memory location to where you're writing the data to or reading from. Then the enable pin allows to latch the control gate of the LCD so that actually you are able to have the LCD enabled to read and write from it. So without further ado, let's get into the coding and make our hands dirty. So on top here, we are going to actually add a library which is going to simplify the way we develop this application. So we are going to include liquid crystal .h, then you put it like that. So this library is actually responsible for the way your LCD actually talks to the microcontroller and vice versa. So the other thing that we are going to include here is to define maybe certain things that we want to use. So one of the things that we are going to define here is to say that int is equal to or int is equal to then we say rs is equal to let's say pin 4, and then we do that. Then we can say int en equal to 5, like that. Then we can say depending the way you choose to connect this, you can say int d1 equal to 6 like that, and then int d2 equal to 7, then int d3 equal to 8, and then we say d4 equal to actually 9, like that. We forgot to put d3 there, like that. So we have defined those. I'm actually trying to write this code as basic as possible because we are just beginning, but as we advance we find that in a case like when you're defining a lot of similar data like this, we can either use an array or we can use this in a for loop or things like that. So the next thing that you're going to say is you're going to say LCD, we're going to say liquid crystal, LCD, then open bracket, then we'll simply say you first select the register to which you're writing to. So we say register select, then we say we enable the latch, then we choose the data pins to which we are sending data to. So like that, then you've got D2, you've got D3, then you've got D4 like that. Then you do that, then you do that. So that's not bad. Okay. So because this library that you have included in here, understand to say this should be output or input, depending if it's a read write. You don't need to actually declare this in the void setup here as either to do your pin assignment. So in this code, it will be fun enough that you're not going to include anything in the void setup, but maybe to make sure that what we are interfacing is actually, we are going, so that we show what you're doing, we are just going to actually maybe put a variable here, and when we get here we are just going to say that LCD dot begin, and then you're going to say we're going to pass an argument which is actually the baud rate of just 9600 bits per second. Then we come to the void loop here where we actually want to print something to this LCD that we have attached to the microcontroller. So when we come here, what you're going to do is we are going to say that let's just print something. So we're going to say LCD dot print, then we say open, then because we're not printing characters, we have to put them in double quoted or double inverted commas. So we are going to print something in here and say a copper belt engineering student, but because we are using, so the other thing that before we could even get here, the other thing that we forgot in our is to initialize the kind of the size of the LCD that we are using. So we are going to say LCD dot begin sorry we have actually made a mistake here. We are going to say LCD dot begin, then we say we pass an argument which is the number of columns and the number of rows. So we're going to say this is a 20 by 4 kind of an LCD that we're using. So we do that. The other kind of LCD that exists are 16 by 2, which you find will appear like this. So we are saying that when you write it in this manner, when you say 16 by 2, what you mean is actually you have got 16 columns with 2 rows. That's what that means. But now we choose to use a 4 columns, a 4 rows against 16 columns. So like against 20 columns like that. Okay, so we do that, then we write to say I'm a copper belt engineering student in there like that. Make sure these characters should be not more than 20 because we are saying we have got 20 columns. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that will not allow. We simply say I'm a copper belt university. If you want, you can write it in this manner. You don't need to set the cursor or exactly where you're writing to for the first sentence because it automatically knows that you got the first line. Then you can do that. Then the next thing that you'd need to do is to come and say set cursor like that. Then you say, because we know that this has gone on 0, so you can say we want to go on row number 1 against column number 0. We just begin on the first. So we want, because there are number of 20 columns and they are, so we'd say 0, 1 like that. So it means that it's starting on column number 1 because the first column is column 0, and then it's beginning on that, and then column 0, then it's starting, which means it's starting from the first, then second row, it means that it's starting on the second row on the screen, so it's just below the first where you have written I'm a copper belt. Then you do that, then you come and say LCD dot print, then you say student like that. But remember, since this is a character kind of data type, you need to put it in double inverted commas like that. So basically this will continue. If you want to write other things, you can simply do this and do that and just change here and make so you'd want to come and put to set your cursor there in between here, then you can put this to be 2 and you can put this to actually become 3 like that, and then you can change the wordings in there and say maybe studying maybe biology like like that. If you choose to do that, in school of NS, like that. So this is how you write characters to the LCD, and this is how you interface an LCD to an Arduino microcontroller, like that. So I hope you found this useful. If you have any question, don't hesitate to comment below. All right.